Hey everyone, how are you? It is Angie here at Trips with Angie, and today we are going to talk about river cruising. We are going to cover why river cruising is so popular, what the difference is between river and ocean cruises, things that are really important to know about river cruises, the difference between the different river cruise lines, and popular itineraries you'll see throughout the world. So let's get started. As usual, feel free to drop a question in whenever you have one. That's the fun of being live, is I can answer them right for you. So let's get started with why is river cruising so popular? And I think this photo shows why river cruising is so popular. The idea that you could be on a boat having a lovely lunch or dinner, sailing by beautiful historic buildings throughout Europe. This is really the dream. River cruises make it very easy to see the smaller towns in Europe, so you don't have to rent a car, you don't have to be on a bus. I also think those ads that Viking Cruise took out before Downton Abbey had a big draw as well in terms of increasing interest in river cruises. And lastly, I think people are fatiguing on the Caribbean. They're ready to see different parts of the world and explore it a little more at their own pace, and especially getting off the beaten path. So the question is, what is the difference then between river cruising and ocean cruising? So first, let's talk about the boats. A big difference is going to be that the river cruise boats are much smaller. Your cabins are going to be much smaller than an ocean cruise ship. Now, some of the cruise lines do have lovely suites in the upper level categories, but in general, you are going to have a much smaller cabin and a much smaller bathroom than you're used to on an ocean cruise line. The other big difference is the amenities on board. So many of the large ocean-going cruise ships have casinos and lounges and multiple pools and water slides and flow riders. That is not going to be on a river cruise ship. Depending on the cruise ship, you may have one or two restaurants. You'll have a beautiful terrace that's available for breakfast or lunch. Some do have pools. In fact, one river cruise line has a swim-up bar in their teeny tiny pool. I think it's so adorable. But you just have to know when you're taking a river cruise, it's going to be quieter, especially at night. Some of the river cruise lines will bring on local groups to provide entertainment in the evenings. Some don't, because most people are tired from touring all day. So it's a very different experience than one you might be used to on ocean cruising. The other big difference is that there's generally more inclusions in a river cruise. You'll generally find that the cruise lines will include wine and beer with lunch or dinner. Some excursions will be included. So you have more value when it comes to that cruise fare on a river cruise. The other difference is that river cruises cruise year-round in Europe. So ocean cruise lines tend to go over to Europe in April and come back in September or October. With river cruises, you can go all year long. And in fact, the Christmas market itineraries are incredibly popular. To go from small town to small town, exploring those gorgeous Christmas market, it's like you walked into a fairy tale. It's just unbelievable. There are a couple additional things to know about choosing a river cruise. One is there's a little bit of unpredictability. Rivers can rise or recede. So depending on that year's rainfall and what's going on upriver, sometimes river cruises turn into bus tours. So this is something that's really important to take into consideration when you're choosing your river and time of year. If you're going down a river that historically has flooded in the month you're looking at, you have to be ready for the complication that not being able to clear under a bridge may bring. So you may want to look at a river cruise line that has a lot of ships, something like Viking, where they constantly have ships going up and down the river, where they could meet halfway and have you switch ships in the middle of your itinerary. Or perhaps looking at a cruise line like Avalon, which is an affiliate of a large tour company, Globus. So they are ready to hop into action with an exceptional bus tour itinerary if the rivers aren't cooperating. Another thing to keep in mind is your own mobility. These docks are small in these small towns along the rivers. So oftentimes one boat will tie to another boat. So you will be walking along the side of your boat. You will hop over bumper to bumper to another boat, walk the length of that boat, and then end up at the dock. So this can be a real challenge for people with walkers. Obviously with a wheelchair, it would be impossible. So you want to keep in mind that you want to do these river cruises while you are mobile. So when it comes to the differences in the river cruise lines, what are the differences? So keep in mind, these river cruises are all practically the same size. They can only be so tall and so long to make it under the bridges along the river and to be able to dock. So where you're going to see big differences in the river cruise lines is how the insides are configured. So first is going to be the size of the cabin. So some cruise ships have smaller interior or ocean view cabins. Other cruise lines, everyone has an ocean view, meaning a big, huge window that opens up. Balconies are not super common in river cruise ships because they do cruise year round. Having a balcony is really only a benefit during the summer months. So a lot of the river cruise lines will do what is called a French balcony, which is basically a window that opens all the way across. So you'll have kind of the railing and then a window opening all the way across so that you can see out. Here, let me show you a picture of what I mean. So this is a picture from Avalon. So they have these kind of windows. So this would be within your suite. So you would have this large window. See how this opens all the way? Now it's not a balcony because he's still inside his cabin, but you are in the fresh air. You are able to stick your head out and see what's going on. Another difference when it comes to the cabins is size. So obviously different ships have different sizes, different suite configurations, different styling. So for example, Uniworld, every suite on the ship is unique. It has unique decorations. It's very, I call it like French country style, very luxurious. So it's neat to think about, you can request a cabin that's unlike any other cabin on the ship. The other big difference is how the rooms are configured. So one thing Avalon talks about a lot is that their beds have a view. So they have taken a totally different orientation to their river cruise cabins. So usually when you walk in, you would have a bathroom over here and then the bed would face this way. Oh, that was a big thing in my hand. The bed would face that way, would face the wall. So Avalon decided that's silly because you're paying to go on a river cruise to have those incredible views all along the river. So they reoriented their space so that the bed faces the window. This makes a great use of the space. I mean, you can see that we're only talking about 200 square feet here, but with 11-foot wall-to-wall panoramic windows with a 7-foot wide opening, this gives you a much different feel inside the cabin. So that's something to really look at and think about. Another difference is going to be the inclusions. I said that river cruises in general have more inclusions than ocean cruises, but even within the river cruise lines, there's a lot of differences in terms of what's included. So let me show you this chart that River Cruise Advisor put together, so we can talk about what that kind of looks like. So here you can see that depending on the cruise line, whether or not all the excursions are included kind of changes based on the different cruise line. And that also one difference between the inclusions are, do you get to pick the shore excursion that's included, or is there one standard excursion included for everyone? So for instance, Viking includes an excursion in every port, but they choose it. You can purchase additional ones if you want, but they pick the excursion. You can see here for Scenic and Talk, they have complimentary optional excursions. So that's going to give you that choice of the excursion you have in each of the ports. Exclusive events. Some of the cruise lines have exclusive events or onshore events that you can attend. Drinks included. So I talked a little bit about before how river cruise lines will include the beer and wine with dinner, but then other lines will include all of your alcoholic drinks. So that's something to keep in mind. Onboard bicycles. Bicycling through these towns is very popular. So a lot of the river cruise lines will offer a bicycle excursion, or some of them, as you can see, actually have bikes on board that you can just take out and go on your own adventure. Other things to think about are step out balconies. That's what I was talking about before. Whether or not you have a traditional balcony where you would step out of a door onto a small balcony with a chair, close the door behind you, or whether you have these French balconies where you open up these windows. Most river cruise lines do not have room service. About half have a stocked in-room minibar. And then it really depends on the configuration of the ship, how many dining venues are on board. So Scenic leads the way with 6, but most have between 1 and 2. Scenic and Union World offer butlers. And then when it comes to the pricing, port charges, airport transfers, gratuities, and laundry, that also varies by cruise line. So you can see there's a lot of variation in what's available in the river cruise market. And that's why I'm here, to help you sort through those options to figure out which cruise line is going to be the best fit for the type of experience you want. Because the second step of this is figuring out what itinerary you want. There's several rivers in Europe that you can explore on a river cruise. So let's take a look at a couple of the popular ones here. So one very popular one is going to be the Rhine. So you can see the Rhine Getaway. This is a itinerary called the Rhine Getaway that Viking offers. You start in Amsterdam and end in Basel, cruising through Germany along the way. This I like to call the fairy tale itinerary. This is, you're going to see castles and vineyards and rolling meadows. You can build in some history if you'd like at the German stops. So this is really going to be that fairy tale experience. Then you move on to the Danube. So this is Eastern Europe. This is going to be Hungary, Romania, Serbia. This is one of my favorite itineraries because these are countries I don't think a lot of people would explore on their own. And doing it on a river cruise makes it incredibly accessible to be able to see these amazing places. You see, Bucharest 3,000 room Palace of Parliament. You can check out things from the Ottoman Empire, their different treasures, a 6th century fortress. Even in one of the stops in Vidin, you can make bread with a home cook. So you have all these incredible Eastern Europe experiences. And then some people will add on a stay in Prague. Prague is one of my favorite cities in the world. So I always think that's a great idea. Or you can combine them and start in Amsterdam and end in Budapest and have sort of a grand European tour. There's a lot of itineraries out there depending on what you want to see and what you want to do to be able to start to sort through those. And like I said, you also have the Christmas markets on top of that. So if you were thinking about going in November or December, you can explore these Christmas markets. In addition to the Danube and the Rhine, there's also rivers in France you can explore. There's one very popular itinerary that visits the beaches of Normandy and has a World War II history focus. You can go through Bordeaux and taste those amazing wines and see those vineyards. That's very exciting. Portugal has a beautiful river cruise exploring the culture, food, and wine of that region. Russia has river cruises. The Amazon River has amazing, very small ship. I mean, some of them only take 10 to 12 people to go down the Amazon. Also Asia, several of the rivers in Asia have river cruise options. So it's really all about where do you want to go and what do you want to see. And that's my role as your travel agent, is to help you sort through those things. Because this is my favorite part, is helping you figure out what is going to be the best fit for you, for the kind of vacation you want to have, the kind of experience you want to have, which cruise line is going to be the right fit, which itinerary is going to be the right fit, making sure we're getting you on the right flights, the right pre-trip, the right post-trip, to really make it worth the investment of your time and resources. I am so happy you decided to tune in and listen today as we talked more about river cruising. If you have any questions, again, please put them in the comments below, or you can email me, Angie@tripswithangie.com. Thanks.